The average solo GP is dead. Being handcuffed to a practice that only makes money while you're drilling crushes your freedom. Being trapped at the office is no way to experience life. And doing more fillings and crowns ain't the answer to freedom. Stop it. Freedom comes when your practice makes money without you. Freedom is choosing how many days and how you dental. Ready to forge your freedom? Then keep listening to become a super GP and super CEO. This is the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Let's go.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Thank you for joining me again on the Titanium Practice Podcast. I am your host and dedicated to your freedom, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you all are having a great day. What we are going to do today is just kind of talking maybe some news and notes around the web about dentistry. Before I get to that though, please, we are coming up most likely on spring break for your kids. Please, please, please have something scheduled to do with your kids. Get them some experiences. It doesn't even need to be amazing, but please get something on the books with your kids. They're only with you in your house for a very short amount of time, so please have something planned. Get them an amazing experience so that they can kind of remember those things as they move on, because it's not the things in life, it is the experiences in life that you will always remember. So please get that going. I am headed out to Park City in about the middle of March, and it should be absolutely amazing. The kids never ever get to see snow, so they will be very excited about that. Took them a couple years ago for the first time to be in snow, and we had a blast, and so we kind of try to keep doing that every year. We can really only stand the cold for about 5 days in a row, and then we need to get back on a plane and come back to where it is warm. So please, 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 please get something on the books to get an experience going with your kids so that you can remember that, or any loved ones you got, and we'll talk about what we see on the web. So a couple of the things, I look around a lot of different sites, try to gain information about what's going on in the world, what's coming down the pike as far as what you can expect in dentistry. This one is an email that I get from a website, I think it's daily, beckersdental.com, so the Becker's Dental Review. I don't know how many of you get that, but at the same time, it's always got good little snippets of things that are happening in dentistry. They always get a dentist's perspective, maybe how it's affecting them personally, and you always kind of wonder how much does that affect kind of the broad generality of all dentists. And obviously as dentists, we have a tendency to feel like we're on an island, which is why I think we like a lot of these podcasts. Obviously I'm by far from the only one out there that have information that make us feel a little bit more connected, know that the struggles that we're going through are similar to the struggles that other dentists are going through. And one of the struggles that I think you are very aware of is the fact of how hard it is to find dental hygienists right now. I mean, it's insane. I would love to know how we could either increase the number of dental hygienists going through school right now, which I'd imagine they have more applicants than they do have spots at this point in time, because talk about an amazing job. Talk about a freaking amazing job. Anybody, there are so many people should want to have that job. Getting paid $45, $50, $60, some states $70 an hour. I definitely know of some dentists who are hiring associates to do their hygiene, A, because there are more associates out there, and B, they're actually cheaper. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But here was a stat about what to expect over the coming years, because if you think it's going to get easier, they say that 34% of hygienists plan to retire within the next 6 years. So they're already incredibly scarce. There aren't enough hygienists out there as it is, and we're going to lose a third of them in the next 6 years. And I start to say, holy crap, where are we going to find hygienists? We either need to get smart about doing assisted hygiene, which all the hygienists already hate. So it's like, how do you work this into the schedule to do it differently to increase the amount of hygiene time you have available? For a lot of offices, hygiene is a lost leader, and I understand that. You do it because you need to have that patient come in because that's where the work comes in. Most offices see about 2/3 of their production come from recare, which is funny because I think most dentists get so caught up on new patients, gotta have new patients. And it's great to have new patients. I love new patients. And we'll talk about using the phones to simply get new patients, which isn't a novel idea, but it works. It absolutely works. But we get so shiny object syndrome, meaning like the new patient is what we need to be looking at for our production. And you absolutely need to have new patients. Good stuff comes from new patients, and they can't become a recare patient until they become a new patient. But we get so caught up, like we'll spend $300, $400, $500 to go and get a brand new patient, but maybe the thought of sending like a birthday cake to one of our patients for $25, $30 that's currently a patient seems insane. And yet retention is a massive, massive problem in all dental offices. It's a big problem. And that's, again, going back to other topics of conversation we've had when we talk about relationships. People are a lot less likely to leave a dental office that they have a relationship with, where they do cool things for them, like send them a birthday cake, send them a birthday card. I mean, how simple is that? Here's an actual, real actual birthday card from the dental office versus I'm sure you have some type of software that sends them an email that says happy birthday, and there's some person out there that literally thinks that Dr. Smith sent them an email that day to say happy birthday, when obviously it's just all automated to do that. And I always kind of get a chuckle when someone actually thinks that but you got to do it because everyone wants a happy birthday. I mean, it's your day. You're excited about it. But what if you actually sent them something for real? Here's a couple of movie tickets to go out and celebrate your birthday. Here's a gift card. Go out and get yourself a Starbucks on your birthday. Here's $5. I mean, but man, we'll spend a couple $100 to acquire a new patient, but some of you just sit there and go, oh, why would I send them a card and a gift card when they're already my patient? Because you want to hold on to them. Also, who's not going to talk about that? I mean, referrals are dirt cheap ways to get new patients. And so if you can send them something, particularly if you can do it at their place of employment, because they'll be like, oh, what's that? You got some flowers or something like that. People crowd around and they talk about that stuff. They're impressed when you go above and beyond. That's why we talk about the voicemail drops that we talked about, of sending post-care calls that you actually don't even have to do. So the voicemail drops. Just little things like that are internal advertising that really pay themselves off. So I'd strongly encourage you to think from that standpoint of doing internal marketing prior to doing external marketing, because external marketing is expensive. And there are many ways to get new patients. One of the biggest ones for me, and this is, way more expensive than external advertising, but when you think about it, it's practically free, is when I built my new building and had a giant sign on the main drag of town where everybody drives past every single day. I mean, that sign, it was an expensive sign, but it's basically an annuity. It's paying me now. It will pay me till I potentially ever sell the building, but I would never really suggest selling real estate. I would hold on to it. That's a whole nother topic. But at the same time, there's different ways to go about getting new patients that don't necessarily mean direct mailer, pay-per-click, geofencing, all that crap out there. take care of the patients that you have, and they will love you for it. You should take care of your patients, and then they will refer as well. Some people are bigger referrers than others. Some people just talk, and they just tell everybody in the town. And if you can get that person on your side, bang, that's a lot of new patients that you can get from that. So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about things that you can be doing to grow your practice. But man, going back to those hygienists, that's just a scary thought to think about, losing a third of the hygienists out there. Obviously, they're not going to get replaced at the rate that they need to be replaced, but it would be really cool to be able to get more hygienists into the system so that we can maybe even control the pay just a little bit as well, so we can get wage growth under control. Speaking of wage growth is the fact that they're actually talking here, and I've said it before, when you think about the increase of inflation, is that generally speaking, wage growth is actually not keeping up with inflation. So it keeps going up, your overhead keeps going up, inflation keeps going up, but your pay is not keeping pace with inflation. So you may even see your W-2 or whatever say you got a bigger number in a given year, but your ability to pay for things has actually gone down. Whoa. So again, we're talking about you're getting reimbursed less, you're working more, and your net pay after paying for your life is actually going down. You need to be doing things to fix that. My way to get you started, at least, since we are clinicians, is to become a super GP. That's how you overcome this. You have to be able to produce more in less time, and you do that by becoming a super GP, doing procedures that you can do a fraction of the time. By the time you are done and learn how to place implants, you can place them in a fraction of the time of doing a filling. And a filling pays you nothing. If you're on plans for fillings, you're probably getting paid like $100. Go and place an implant in 5 minutes. It's much more rewarding. It's faster. It's cooler. Everything about it is better. It's a fear factor. I was very lucky to have my father be an oral surgeon and talk me into doing implants with me. After I opened the subject, but he pushed me to do implants. Mainly for all the reasons that I just said. He thought general dentistry was dumb. Like, he didn't want to be a quote-unquote tooth carpenter. He wanted to do something cooler, and he eventually learned how to do some really cool things. But you need someone to help guide you and get you over the hump of doing this, and I'd be more than happy to be that person to help you do that. Like I said, I am dedicated to your freedom, and I am open and happy to help you however I can in order to get you over the hump of your freedom. Because you can do it. I was petrified to place an implant. They're so easy most of the time. I mean, are there hard ones? Yeah. But you've done class 2 composites that are hard too. So, I mean, it's no different. All right. So really at the end of the day, they can make your entire life easier, more rewarding. It's just some cool stuff. Okay. So also talking about pay, they were talking about general numbers for dental assistant pay. They said under 4 years of experience was about $20 an hour. 4 to 6 was about $23 an hour. 6 to 9 years of experience was about $24, and then anything over 9 years was let the floodgates open out at $25+ an hour. And I know for a lot of you that maybe hiring is extremely difficult right now, and those numbers mean almost nothing to you because of the fact that you just need a warm body. I said it before, but I would encourage you to not simply hire a warm body. I have been there in that sense of, do you have a pulse and do you want the job? And I have regretted it every single time. And bringing in an employee who doesn't stick, bringing in an employee that you have to pay to train, bringing in an employee who does not fit your culture, I can't begin to tell you how expensive that is. So you need to be patient, and it sucks. I know. I am the least patient person you will ever meet in your entire life, but you need to be patient and find that person. You will. It'll happen, and it'll happen at the oddest time. I've hired an assistant at a pizza joint before. I just went out to, eat pizza with my family and ended up coming home with the dental assistant. Well, you know what I mean. But, it's amazing how that stuff can happen. I am a big proponent of carrying cards on you. I hate doing it. Man, I hate doing it. I do keep one on me, though, so that I can hand out a card if I do find someone, because you will find them in the oddest spots. It stinks. I've got my phone has a wallet on the back of it, and I just keep a card in there. And then that way I've got it available. And over time, after you put the credit cards in and out of it, it kind of makes it look grungy. You got to throw it away and switch it out. But just generally speaking, it's a safety thing to keep in your wallet. May change as you get a little bit older about what you keep in your wallet, but that way you've got one around you and you can hand out to them if you need to. And you finally find someone that you like their personality, you want to hire them and think they'll be a good fit for your organization. So please keep that in mind, okay? They went on to talk about the fact that the majority of general dentists now work in a group practice. And that one caught me by surprise. I did not think that the majority of dentists worked in a group practice at this point in time. I thought that most of them were still solo. And I'm trying to figure out if they mean just as a member of a DSO and not working in an office that has multiple dentists. And that's my assumption, is they just mean that they're a part of the DSO. But the point is that only 36% work solo. And you can expect that number to continue to drop. I have found that most dentists we always kind of like our own thing. They talk about the fact that, it was a long time ago. I think it was on 60 Minutes or something like that. And they sent a lady out into the world and saw 5 different dentists, and she got 5 radically different treatment plans from these 5 dentists. And I'm sure they were all valid treatment plans, but we all think very differently. And I was definitely one of these. I repeated kindergarten. So when I was a kid, I did kindergarten twice. And one of the reasons that I had to repeat kindergarten is kind of was the final straw of why I had to repeat kindergarten. It's because apparently some girl wanted to play with a phone that I was using, and I decided to hit her with it. All right, well, so I get to repeat kindergarten for that final straw, breaking the camel's back. And the point of that, though, is I've never been very good at sharing my toys. I've never been very good at doing that. And I think to a degree, a lot of dentists feel the same way. They don't want to share their toys. They want to be their own boss. A lot of you went into this to be your own boss. How great is it, right? You get to call all the shots and everything is put on your plate. Awesome, right? There's definitely good and there's definitely bad about it, right? So I would have expected this number to be higher, because I think most dentists want to be their own boss and they want to work by themselves. And if that's really the case, that it's at 36% right now, you've almost got to be thinking that somewhere along the line you're getting pretty darn close to consolidation at that point in time, because there's always going to be 15 to 20% of dentists who are going to resist the urge to be any part of any kind of group. So if you're already at 36%, you don't have that much far to go to hit 20%. So that'll be interesting to see just the rate. Does consolidation actually end up slowing down? I mean, does it just happen in the blink of an eye and that's it and we're done? And then all of a sudden you just see DSOs start buying themselves rather than the average practice. I think that'll be interesting to see. But they did talk to one dentist, and the one dentist did talk about the fact that reimbursements were going down and that overhead was going up. And the thing that was driving that the most was this association with the DSOs. I think it'll be very fascinating, and I've heard this idea put out there, the fact that these DSOs are getting so powerful that they're actually going to essentially make insurance irrelevant. Like, they will be the insurance company at that point in time, and they can dictate everything from the fees for supplies, the fees for reimbursement. So that'll be fascinating to see if that ends up happening, which ultimately might be a really, really good thing for most of us. That 20% or so that stay independent, you might actually start to see your fees go up because of that, because you can use a different lab. You can have these things where you build that relationship with the doctor. Because I worked at a DSO. That was my first job that I had out of school. I worked as a DSO, and I was there for a year and a half, and then I was gone. And that is a story you will hear over and over and over again at these large DSO practices, where it's become basically the new GPR, right? Why would you come out of school and do a residency versus going to a DSO, and getting paid nothing, versus go work for one of these practices where you're going to see 10 million patients because they take every plan under the sun, and you're going to get paid very little to do a lot of those plans, but you're going to make up in volume. So versus doing a GPR, why wouldn't you go to somebody else's practice? I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to me. That's pretty much the reason why I did it. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but at the time I just thought that sounded like a good job, and I was going to get paid a lot of money, and I was like, I've been poor for a long time. I'd like to make a lot of money. So no matter what, you're going to see some of those guys, some of the dentists stay solo. And so I think it'll create this great black and white situation where some of them can provide such better relationships than you can at these DSOs, because they're going to look more and more like a mill as time goes by. And it definitely serves a segment of the population for sure. And you just need to choose what you want your practice to look like. And for me, I wanted to keep as much of the production in-house versus referring it out. I wanted to create relationships with people. I wanted to make the experience as nice as possible for folks, so you can create this nice contrast that you may see at some of these other offices. Okay, so that was kind of my thoughts on that. But what the dentist did say is that what he'll need to do is to increase production to offset the decreased reimbursement and the increased overhead. Increase production. How are you going to increase production? I could guess what he's thinking when he says that, and my guess is he's thinking doing more fillings and more crowns. Is that the pathway to freedom? No, it's not. It's very simple. That's just working harder. That's all it is. So, and he's just talking about offsetting the cost. He's not even talking about making extra money. He's just being like, all right, let's get back to where we were. Holy crap. So you just work harder to get back to where you were? I mean, that sounds insane. Why would you do that? Why would you do that path when you could easily do a different path where you can do procedures in a fraction of the time and get paid many more multiples on top of it? To me, that just doesn't make any sense. And you know what's going to further bring down your reimbursement? Dental therapists. So Florida is about to become the 15th state to bring in dental therapists. And I think it's great. I am all on board the dental therapist train. And if you're listening to this podcast, you should be too. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, you're thinking like an entrepreneur. So what's going to happen is these dental therapists are going to reduce the amount that you overall get paid for doing general dentistry procedures, because there's going to be an increased access to care. How awesome is that? Great. Increased access to care. But if you're a general dentist and that's all you're doing is general dentistry procedures, it is going to drop and reduce further the reimbursements that you're getting to do all these things. So cool. We've got better access to care, which again is going to be the same ridiculousness that they're going to go out and go into these underserved communities, and some will stick, but the vast majority are going to come back, and they're going to work in larger metropolitan areas. It's going to be almost the exact same amount of access to care, but they're going to find out that they can't have a practice that's profitable out in these rural areas. That's why no one's there to begin with. So they're going to come right back in, and you're going to be able to bring them into your practice. There are so many small cavities that need to be filled in this country. It's unbelievable. I see them all day long, but the general dentists don't want to do them because you hate the reimbursement that you get from doing a class 2 composite, so you watch it. That's what you do. You put a watch on the tooth, hoping, praying that somehow this patient is going to all of a sudden decide they're going to start flossing their teeth, and we'll give them some extra strength fluoride to help maybe remineralize that tooth. How many do you think that actually remineralizes on? I mean, not many. Not many. So they just sit there getting bigger till now you feel like, I don't have any choice, I've got to fill it. Or maybe that patient has disappeared long enough where now all of a sudden it's undermined the cusp of a tooth or a restoration, and now you get to put a crown on it instead of doing a simple restoration on it. I don't know. I'd catch all these a little bit earlier, and I'd be willing to bet these dental therapists will be doing a ton of class 2 composites that are in between, over 50% of the enamel. Once you hit over 50% of the enamel, you're supposed to be treating these. I see over 50% of the enamel incipient caries every single day that are not treated because we're going to watch them get bigger. That's exactly what's going to happen, and you've heard that term before. So overall, the general dentistry reimbursement and pay is going to decrease with the dental therapists. So I'm all on board. Past the dental therapist thing, I want it done yesterday, and I want to bring them into my office. I think it'll be great. It's a win-win. Underserved communities get helped, and there's procedures that will help the patient get done that otherwise wouldn't get done and probably end up turning into larger restorations or crowns anyways. But you need to be aware of this. If 15 states are doing it, there's no way it's not going to pass, because the courts and the laws will always support what they think helps the masses. That's why when North Carolina did its thing a couple years ago about trying to stop malls from doing whitening, they had no chance. They will always side with, quote unquote, the people. So the therapists are going to pass because it helps the people. The only people that in theory it should screw is other dentists. They don't care about you. They could care less about you. So you need to be aware that these things are occurring. You're obviously aware that inflation's up. You're obviously aware that reimbursements are dropping, and they will continue to drop because not only do the insurance companies need to make more money, but then as dental therapists become more and more popular throughout this country, you're not going to be needed as much. Congratulations. So you need to reinvent yourself. You need to reinvent your practice so that you can be introducing these super GP procedures in order to be able to make sure that you are staying relevant, you are staying productive in a manner that actually can pay the bills, and you can just keep the lifestyle that you want. So those are kind of my thoughts today. We'll have some more news coming up. I'm trying to do the news every Tuesday here to keep you guys informed about what's going on. But I appreciate having you here today. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Hopefully it sparked a thought or two for you. If you want to download our book, it is at titaniumpractice.com. Has some more ideas about how you can become a super GP and ultimately how to become a super CEO to have the lifestyle that you want to live. Thank you for joining me today. Have an awesome evening. Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Please hit the like and subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Titanium Practice. Questions or comments? Send an email to info@titaniumpractice.com. Join us next time to help turn your average practice into a titanium practice.